Hi everyone, this is Jan. I hope your day is going well for you today. I'm going to be starting another floral painting and I want to use a stencil I've had for quite a while. So what I did first was to prepare the canvas with the colors that I wanted. And I started out using gray, medium gray, and white. And I applied it with one of the Donna Dewberry sponges. I just put the two colors on and I went in small circles until I got the whole canvas covered with the gray and white. Then you let that dry, and when that's dry I came in with some of the Folk Art French blue. It's a real light powder blue. Put that on my sponge and did the same thing, and you can see the blue on the canvas, just different places. Washed my sponge out again. I came back in with sunflower. Once that was dry, you want to make sure it's dry. Sunflower's a pale yellow, and I put that on my sponge, and I came back and you can see the pale yellow that I have on here. Okay, and once you have that done, you want to let the whole thing dry before you think about putting a stencil on. Now the stencil that I have is these lines coming down off the top, and I've had it quite a while. And I remember Donna doing a painting using this, and she had some flowers over here, and she used the writing down on the bottom. So I wanted to use the stencil. I don't want the writing along the bottom. I just want these to maybe go all the way across the whole canvas. And then I'm going to put flowers, starting here and run across the bottom of this. I haven't decided which flowers I'm going to put on there, but I want to get the stenciling done, and then my mind starts working as to what kind of flowers I want to add and what colors and that sort of thing. These vines here, I'm not going to leave it just a stencil look. What my plan is to use this as a pattern and then come back and use your brushes and do a blade leaf like you've seen in some of my other videos. That way I can add some different colors and stuff to it, and it won't look quite so much like a stencil. So go ahead and get your canvas prepared. This little canvas here, I believe, is 12 by 14, I believe. So it's not a real huge canvas. So go ahead and get your canvas prepped. Let it dry, and if you have this stencil, come along and paint with me, and we'll do us up a pretty little floral here. Okay, I'll be back in a few. Okay, what I did first was I laid my stencil down and I taped it with some painter's tape. And then I took my sponge and I dipped in some of the French blue here. I first put a little dab of water on my sponge and worked it in on the tip so that it wouldn't be just totally dry. And then I came back and I'm just patting this blue color on the top of this stencil. I want it real light. This is going to be the background color before I come in with the greens. And then I picked it up, just picked it up, and I looked at it, and that's what I want. I just want a faint color of blue coming off of that stencil. Now before I quit, I want to carry that over a little bit further. So I'm going to just pick this up, and I'm going to take and move this, and I want another row of this coming down right here. Let me pick up a little bit more paint. But I want another row of this blue on the this little outside part here. So I want to extend it just a little bit more than what the stencil extended it. I'm not going to bring it all the way across. I'm going to lift it up. Okay, I could put a little bit right here. See, I'm just pity-patting. Now I can see where that stencil left off right there. So I'm coming back and I'm trying to move this over just a little bit so that I can have a little bit more. I'm going to come down and bring that down. Okay, I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to take a peek. Ooh, that looks good. Okay, now I'm going to take this off and just set it right here for a moment. Now that is what it looks like. So I'm going to leave this alone over here because I think I might put a hollyhock over here, coming right up there, and then bring the flowers down this way. But see how faint that looks? That really looks nice. Now I'm not going to come back over this with anything. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it the light blue. And if I do anything, I will come back over it with a really light green. And I have a light green here I'm looking at right here. This one here is soft apple. Let's see what this one is here. Now this one is green sea. So there's two greens right there that are really, really light that I could come back over and do real faint veins and just scoot the stencil over a little bit as I use it. But I like that. That's really good. Okay, I'm going to come back. I'm going to add the green, and when I come back, I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll go ahead and start with the green part. All right, see you in a few. Okay, everyone, so what do you think? So the only other two colors that I added to this was the soft apple, which was this one. I did that next. And then the brighter green is fresh cut grass. And that's that color. And if you don't have these two colors, I'll just place them up to one another and you can see the color variants of those. Now I'm going to think about this, if I want to keep it like it is, or if I even want to come in here with a little bit deeper color. I'm not so sure I want to, because when I add the flowers over on this side here, those are going to be different colors of green. So I probably will keep this light, and I might even think about putting a glaze over the top of this so that it looks kind of like it's foggy a little bit. So it sets it really far back there, and you just get a glimpse of color back in there. So I moved my stencil around in different places and added the different colors, and still use the same technique of just pouncing the sponge on. So have fun with this and create it any way you want to. And when we come back, I'll have a pattern drawn on here, and I'll decide what flowers I want, and I'll decide if I want to go ahead and glaze over this. So let that completely dry, and when we come back, we'll start the other step. So I'll see you in a few. So here we are with our stencil done, and I've decided to add part of a little fence here because I'm going to have hollyhocks going all the way up to the top here, and I'll bring some of them down here, or I may change it and do another flower down here. Over here, I'm thinking about I might add some more defined leaves on top of this, but I'm going to wait until I get the hollyhocks on and see how I like that. I wanted to kind of go over doing this fence before I move on to the hollyhocks though. So I just went ahead and went online, and you can find fence patterns going to like if you type in Google and type in Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that, type in fences, and you can get a really good fence off of that if they have a photo, and then save it to your photo file, and then you can go in and edit that and crop it any way you want to, and then just print it out on your printer. And my printer only prints out an 8 by 12, something like that, but it was big enough to where if my fence went this way, I could go ahead and do a little fence, and that's what I did. And then I took tracing paper, put my paper down on top, put tracing paper underneath that, and then went ahead and used a stylus and traced it with graphite. So the next thing that I did was I painted the whole thing white, just straight white, let that dry, and then I came back with medium gray floating medium, and I floated along the edge here. I left a white edge on each side of the little fence. So I floated those on first, floated top here, bottom there, top here, bottom there, and then after that was finished, I came back with a rake brush, and a rake brush is a brush that you can get. Donna has these. I happen to have this one here that is a pretty good size one. I wanted to cover more of the fence with it, and what I did was I made a watery medium gray, and then when I came back I would touch it like right up here, and I would just pull down, and I went different areas and just pulled down on it. Sometimes I would use a little bit of thicker paint, sometimes not real thick paint. And then you can also take it sideways like this, and you can make grain lines. You can see I made a few grain lines down here on the fence. And if you need to deepen any of them, I deepened it a little bit here where the rail meets the fence there. And I think I'm going to call that good, because when I put those hollyhocks over, like right in the middle, a lot of that will be covered up. It gets skinnier up here. And what I'll do is I'll find me a pattern from a garden center or something. Sometimes they have images of different flowers, and I'll look at them, and then I'll just sketch out some of the hollyhocks on how I want them to lay out in here. So go ahead and get your fence put in. You're going to let that completely dry, and when we come back I'll have the hollyhock pattern already on, and I'll decide which flowers I'm going to put over here too. Okay, I'll see you back in a few. So we're back now, and I have sketched in my hollyhocks with graphite, and I just got a pattern off of the internet and just kind of did it the way I wanted to do it, facing them any direction that I wanted. And now we're going to put on the little tops to these hollyhocks, and I have one done already right here. And I have like a number 6 filbert. I have sap green and citrus green, which is a dark and a light green, and I have just double loaded it here. And what I'm doing is taking my brush and I'm working on the side of it like this. and I'm just walking down with little bitty strokes, and as I bring this down, I'm actually making bigger leaves, little bitty petal leaves. And we'll go ahead and take the liner brush and put in little stems later, but it's a little bitty one-stroke leaf. You just sit on the brush and pull out to a chisel like that. Now if I wanted a light green, I could just do almost a solid green. If I wanted one right over the top there, those two, like that. You might want to add a little bit of white to that. There we go. And add a few of them on top rather than all, the same direction. But put your stem in first. This one I curved a little bit. This one's a little bit more straight. So you can see how to put these little tops on. And as you come down further, you're going to make your little leaf strokes a little wider. Now I'm going to do 2 strokes with this, and that will make a bigger leaf yet. So just walk your leaf down, and as you come down, just get a little bigger. Let's see, I want this one. Let's try this one. Like that, and then that way it'll look like it has a vein already in it, like that. Okay, so as I come down here, I can see my pattern, so I need to switch brushes, and I will go ahead and start on some of these petals here for the hollyhocks. Over here, I think I've come down far enough for that one also. This one here, I could certainly come down a little bit more on this, or add another small one if I wanted to. I can see little buds here that are going to start coming out, so I don't want to get too far down on that little stalk there. But go ahead and put all these little tops on, and let me pull back a little bit like that so you can see all 3 of them. There you go. So we have one here, here, and here, and then as you come down further, then we'll have you can see a little bit of graphite where the flowers are gonna start. So go ahead and put those in, and like I say, it's just a little comma stroke at the top, and then you come in and do a little one stroke, and it makes, I like the filbert brush because it makes a little rounded on the back of the leaf. I like my leaves to be a lot of times rounded on the back, and I'll come in with the liner brush and put little veins in them a little bit later. But anyway, get this started, and then we'll come back and we'll go ahead and do being I have the green out, we'll probably do some of the bigger leaves. I'll see if I can squeeze some of those bigger leaves in down here a little bit further. Okay, see you in a few. So what I did next was I added a ton of leaves and slap foliage in and out of where I was going to have the flower part. And you can see like over in here, and I used a 10, this is just a 10 flat with sap green and citrus green, and then my highlight color would be the white. And what I did, I slapped color over in here where it looks kind of messy. That's just slapping color in between some of these leaves that I put on. So you can slap first in between little sections, and then come back and go ahead and put your leaves on top. Now the leaves that I did on here, let me bring this a little closer. It's actually, you have 2 leaves across the top here, and then you have another leaf coming off on top of that. It's almost like an ivy leaf, just makes it a little bigger. That's what Donna showed in her Hollyhock video when I reviewed it. I had to go back and review it because it was a long time ago when I did Hollyhocks. And then what I did was I came back and I did blade leaves on top of the green part of the stencil. I wanted it to appear that this is like a weeping willow tree that's just coming down, and it's coming on top of some of these hydrangeas. It's just right in the back, falling behind and in front of the fence here. But what you need to do next is you need to put in your little, looks like little oak type leaves on what Donna did there. Let's see if I can come back and redo one of these so you can kind of see what it looks like. So what you're going to do is, let's go ahead. I can put a little leaf like right here where I slip slap some in. So put a vein first so you know where you're going. So put a vein first. And what I like to do, let's turn this around, is I like to work with the leaf pointed in front of me. I feel more comfortable doing that. And I have just double loaded my brush with the citrus and the sap green. Let me make sure I have a nice enough load. Got a fan going here, so sometimes the fan will dry out some of the paint. Alright, so we're going to go back. I'm going to do one right here. So what we pretty much did, let's bring this up a little bit. So you take and you're going to do just like you're going to do a ruffle leaf. And I come back and then I come here. Okay, now do the other side. Ruffle it. Come out and swing back. Okay, that's the top part. Going to reload a little bit. Now take and swing this off into just a regular ruffle 1-stroke leaf. I'll just fill in that little gap there. Bring my brush back into a chisel edge and go ahead and put the little stem in. Okay, I hope you could see that. I hope my hand wasn't in the way. But you can see how it makes, you have 2 leaves over here, 2 of your ruffle leaves, and then come back and do another leaf right on top of those 2 there. Okay, and that's how I've done all the leaves. One thing you want to remember is do all your dark leaves first, with the dark on the outside, citrus green on the inside. Those are going to be underneath. Then when you come back and you add top leaves, you want to put the citrus on the outside so that that leaf looks like it's in front. This looks like it's in front of those in the back. That way you have depth in your painting. See how that one's dark, and when I come over, this one's going to be light. Just flip it around. In fact, I can redo that one right there. This one here, the same thing. You have dark on the outside, citrus on the inside. When I did another leaf on top of that, I had citrus plus a little white on the outside edge here, and the sap green in the middle. That way this one's on top of that one there. If you have a little area where one leaf is over another leaf and you can't see it, pop it out with a little bit of white with citrus over just that little edge there. Same thing here. So look at your leaves when you're doing them and make sure that If there's leaves you can't see, you have to make one either darker or lighter so that it will show up. Okay, so let me pull this around. Okay, so we have this back around, and all of this in here is flowers. All of this in here, and then it goes up this stalk. That's why it's so bare over here. Got flowers here, 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 over here, over here, over here. Just everywhere going up these stalks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this a little bit longer on the greens and see if I want to add any more leaves, and then I'm going to start on the flower part. We've got so much green in here, it's kind of hard to tell, am I going to like this, or is this going to come out the way I'm thinking that I want it? But I need another color on here to kind of bounce back and forth to see if this is going to be what I want. Okay, so I'll see you in a few, and we'll come back and do some hollyhocks. Okay, we're back now, and as you can see, I've done quite a bit on this little painting since the leaves. So let me go over what I added to this little painting. So I did a workshop with Donna way back. I'm talking maybe a year or two ago, and she did some hollyhocks. And this is the painting that we did, and you can see the hollyhocks here and the little flowers going up on the stalks, and then the leaves underneath. So I went back and rewatched this video, and I believe she does have this in her videos, her downloads that you can purchase, these hollyhocks. So I just kind of reviewed it, and basically the hollyhocks are just a regular petaled floral, and you can see if I put my two little X's here and I come around and I do I don't do a real tight shell, it's kind of a loose shell, and I do 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 petals on each flower. And as you can see, you want to make sure that when you do these, see how they're clumped together. You know, you have so many of them clumped together in a group, and then up here near the top you're going to have small little buds going up and leaves going up on the top there. These are just starting to bloom out, so they're just back petals with the calyx on the back of those. So now I haven't put the centers on in this, but I do have the petals on, so you can go ahead and screenshot this, and that'll kind of give you a placement for your petals. Now these flowers right here, what I wanted to do was add a lot of layers in here, and you can see it adds depth to your painting. You can see this is the closest to you, these two here. Then it jumps over here to all your flowers, and then this little vine that runs up is in front of the fence. The fence would be next, and then you have all of your weeping willow in the background, and then you have your sky back here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have at least 6 different levels of depth in this painting. So that's what I was trying to create. Now the only thing that I did on the stenciled area was I came back with a wash of water and this little blue, I think it's a French blue, Yes, French blue. And I put a coat of French blue over the top of the stencil up here because it looked a little too bright for me. I wanted to set it back a little bit further. Then I added another fence post over here because I wanted that butterfly. Donna had a workshop in, I think it was North Carolina, and some of the students turned in or showed their paintings, and they had a butterfly on a little fence, and it looked so pretty. So I went and dug out a stencil I had. This is the stencil that I had, and I just traced around the outside of the stencil and painted it yellow with a little bit of white and a little bit of orange after that dried. And then I outlined it with your licorice on the outside edges, painted the body, and then added the little veins in your butterfly. And I just looked at a photo of a butterfly. I don't know too much about painting them. I think we did a few in certification, but they're real tiny butterflies. They're not the big ones. Anyway, this is the butterfly I came up with, and it's not like it's like a fantasy butterfly. It's not like a monarch or any of those butterflies where everything has to be perfect. It's a made-up fantasy butterfly. So anyway, that's how he came out. And then what I did was I wanted to make this vine closer so the butterfly could land on that. So I had to deepen these colors to bring them forward as opposed to these back here. So I did that, so you can see that this one shows up when you look at it. It's closer, and it actually goes over this little fence over here. So got all that all done, and then now I came back and I repainted with magenta and violet pansy, and I just put color on, and while it was still wet I chalk blended some of the violet pansy in so I could already have this dark. Same thing here. This one is behind this one. This petal's going to be up and over the front petal here. I am going to overstroke these two here because they're closer to me. These here are more like your one stroke, you know, where you put your little V's and then you come around, you do a loose stroke coming around and do about 5 petals. These are the magenta and the baby pink is what these are. Is that baby pink? Yes, that's baby pink. Just wanted to be sure for you. And then I'll have to put the centers in those as soon as I finish these here. The centers will be the last thing that I will do. So I wanted to get you kind of updated on what I did here. So go ahead and get your painting up to this level here, and then when we come back I will go ahead and show you how I overstroked these flowers wet in wet. Okay, these will be totally different than these back here. These are further behind. These here are closer to me, and I want that wet in wet overstroke on these hollyhocks because I want more fluffiness to them. All right, so I'll come back whenever we're ready to start these two here. I just have to let them dry a little bit. Okay, see you in a few. All right, we're back now, and we are going to do these two flowers here. And I have on my palette here magenta, baby pink, white, and some floating medium. Now what I just did, I took a 3/4 inch brush and I wet it, blotted it, and then I put a few drops of blending gel on this flower, a few drops on this flower, and I just worked it into the canvas. I went out probably an inch past where these petals are, because when I do the overstroke, I don't want to hit a dry area. I want it nice and wet. And as I'm looking at this, it's still wet. I didn't use the slow dry because I'm going to work fairly fast, and I think I'll be all right on it. Not going to change the color. I'm just going to add an edging to this. So I'm going to go into some baby pink here. Just going to pull it out on both sides. Dip in a little floating medium. I want it a little bit loose. Now I think what I want to do, let me do this first. Let me add a wet base with a number 12 of the magenta right near the top here. See where this is, where I'm putting this? Let's just add a little bit of wet magenta right there, and I think it'll help. Okay, set that brush aside. Now come in with your loose baby pink, and I'm going to touch up above where the magenta is. So I'm going to touch it, pull, touch, pull. Now remember, you're actually going to be doing kind of an arch shape here. And I want this petal, see, I want this petal to come down in front a little bit. Well, let's do the back one first. Okay, there's the back one. And when it comes down, this one comes down in the front. There we go. I want it to kind of have a more of a white tone coming in there, a little bit lighter pink tone. I don't want it too white. I'd rather still keep it pink. Okay. Now if you come back too far, take and blend. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Take and blend some of that magenta back up in there. Okay, there's those two petals. Now we have this petal here. Again, I'm going to load magenta. I want it wet. Okay, set that aside. I have some loose baby pink on both sides. I'm going to pull up this way. Okay, touch, pull. Okay, now I'm going to come down. You want a little bit of movement here because this petal, it's rolling off. There we go. See, it's bent. Okay, and I want it to show that, like that's what it's doing. Okay, I'm just redressing my brush. While I have it here, I'm going to come back and we're going to restroke that. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for that one. Now when I come back over here, I'm going to hang on to my brush. Okay, I'm going to add some more magenta, and we are going to do these petals here. I'm looking to see if it's still wet there, and it is. This one's in front, these two are in front, and these two, looks like this one's behind, so I'm going to add some wet magenta to the two in the back. And to these here. I don't know if those side ones will stay wet or not, because I have a fan going, but let's hope they do. Okay, set that aside. Pick up some more baby pink. I'll thin it down a little bit. Okay, start with this one back here. Okay, go out past, touch and pull. Okay, tilt your brush at a 45-degree angle when you come in. Okay, redressing the brush here. Okay, this one's next. Touch, pull, touch, pull, touch, pull. Okay, I like to keep my petals kind of ruffly. Alright, this one here, we're still wet on this one here. This one, touch, pull. Notice how I went kind of in a C-stroke. At least that's what I call it, is a C-stroke. Okay, dress my brush again. This one here, this one's going to come up and down. Touch and pull, touch and pull, curving this way, touch and down. You have to bend it the way you want those petals to go. Now I'm going to lighten that edge up a little bit. It's next to this. Okay, and I can't see it very well, so I'm going into the white and I'm edging the white, and I'm going to come back and re-edge that. Okay, so now this petal is in front of that petal there. Okay, this one is in front, and I haven't wet that one yet, so we're going to pick up some magenta. Okay, let's wet this one. Set it aside, come back with our baby pink. Okay, I'm going to touch it right on the edge here, touch and pull. 45-degree angle, touch and pull. Touch and pull. Now I ran out of paint. Touch and pull. Okay, let's go this direction now. Okay, and that's that petal. Now let's redo this one. There we go. Now what I want to do, I forgot to add my favorite color. I like a little blue, just a little touch of blue on some of those edges. While they're wet, I'm going to wipe my brush off with the pink. Keep a dirty brush, go into a little blue or blue lavender. Okay, let's touch a few little petals here. Reload. Let's touch one out here while it's still wet. Gotta have a little bit of blue in there. This one here. And this one here. Yeah. Maybe one more down here. Okay, I didn't add any blue back here. Let's add a little bit of blue back here. And down here. Yeah. See how that brightens up those petals? Okay. Let me add, I want to add a little bit of blue on that one. Okay. These could actually be poppies instead of hollyhocks. Okay. Whatever flower that you come up with, you don't have to do, it doesn't have to be a hollyhock. It can be totally a different type of flower. Now the other thing that I'm going to do next is I will put in the centers. And let me see, I might be able to put them in right now because I think I have some yellow over on this other plate, which I do. So let's just put in a little center here on the big one here. And then we can go ahead and get that done. Okay, let's see. I'm going to pick up, you know what, let's get this little bitty tiny scruffy brush. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow ochre and then put bit of the yellow with a little bit of white. In the center, they actually have like a cone, kind of a cone shape. Like that. With the center. Okay, that'd be the center of one. Now, I don't think it would show in here. If it did, it would just be the tip. So let's just do a little tip showing right here. There we go. Okay, and here, again, I'm just going to pounce a little yellow ochre. And the other, let's see, this one would go like that. Yeah. You don't want to get them too big though. Okay, here, put in different directions. Okay, and here. These are really pretty flowers. I have some of these out in my backyard. Of course, we've had such a drought up until this year, and they didn't bloom very much, just barely bloomed. So this year we had a lot of rain, so maybe they'll bloom out this year. Okay, those are buds. A little bit of yellow here. I got too much on that one. Yeah. That one, I'm not going to put one on that. Okay, now the only other thing that I would do on the hollyhocks, got that in, and I think I would want to kind of maybe touch under some of these. I'm just going to come back, not right now, but I will come back. I want to go ahead and redo the fronts of some of these here. So I'm just taking a QT, and like this one has a petal in the front, and I just want to make sure it doesn't, that center doesn't get in an area I don't want. Okay, the rest of these look good. But I want to come back and redo like this one here, not redo it, but just redefine it before this is finished. And I might add some little dots up in here, but I have to let this dry because it's way too wet for me to do any of that. I got one of those kiss tools, and I think I'll come back and add some little dots on these flowers here. So okay, go ahead and get these done, and I'll come back in a few and I'll show you what it looks like all finished up. Okay, see you soon. Okay everyone, our little painting is finished, and all I did was do the centers, and I also put on some little dots, and I finally got me one of these little kiss tools. Here's the package tool to it. It's a small wipe away tool, but everyone calls it the kiss tool because it looks like a little Hershey's kiss on the end of it. And these are really neat little things. I never realized how much I would miss it. So I added little dots right here on the left side, and then on the butterfly I added some little dots around the edge on the butterfly also. And then that was about it. I came back and I made sure that I had petals that were in front of other petals. I think I redefined this one here so that it would show up a little better. So those are the finishing touches. I think I even finished this one up a little bit more so it would show up on the front there. So what I like to do is take a photo of it and then look at the photo, or put your painting up in a room and sit across the room. Every once in a while glance up at it and see if there's anything else that you want to do. What pops out, what doesn't pop out, what blends in too much, and then you just go in and make the corrections. Did add some little lines here on this leaf. This is the biggest one, and I wanted to add something a little different so that your eye would look at that. Now right now when you look at this, of course you notice the pretty little butterfly. And then your eye moves right on around the painting there. So anyway, thank you for joining me, and make sure that you push the like button if you like this video and this class that I offer to you. That way I can continue to offer more classes for you free on YouTube. And also share and also subscribe, because I come out with different things all the time, and sometimes it may be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be a little more. Just whenever I get a thought in my mind and I want to do something, then I go ahead and put it up for you on YouTube. So thank you so much. Take care. God bless. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.